computer. And we are good to go. Dr. Osler, you're going to play Maureen. You look a little bit like Maureen tonight, but go ahead and start us off, Lee.
Well, I'm privileged to take Maureen's pivotal place here. We excuse her today. She's hobnobbing in the, is it Boston? Is that where it was? Or someplace like that?
She's up in Boston. You got to say it correctly though, Lee.
Boston, okay.
Boston.
So she's away with her husband, and they're hobnobbing with some other very important people, but we have some very important people with us here tonight. Welcome everybody to the Asea 5. We are come together, Jim and Ann Glenn from San Antonio. You can wave at us there. Jim, we call him our money man, and Ann is our nutritional expert, and we enjoy having them help anchor this. Of course, Dr. Philippe Silvestre, who's coming to us. He's our guest host panelist tonight from Calgary, Canada. We had him on last week and invited him back to help us with our very important guest. Of course, I'm Dr. Lee Osler. I'm presently I'm in Seattle, Washington at a dental conference, but I'm glad to be here with all of you. And we have a very special guest with us who was just announced, recently promoted with our company, Asea, Scott Aldred, who is the man who holds this company together. He's our Chief Operations Officer and now President, as we understand. So Scott, we welcome you to the Asea 5, and we hope that you're prepared to spill all the beans about what's going on in corporate headquarters and give us some of your take on this. So let's start with that. Let's start right off, and first, again, congratulate you on the new appointment that you have. I'm not going to call it promotion because it probably means more work, but you certainly merit this, and you've been an anchor for this company ever since I've been around, certainly, and much longer. So tell us, maybe start by introducing who you are. We've got a lot of people from around the world who obviously haven't been to the headquarters, and so they don't even know, what home base is like or what it consists of. Maybe you can help us all understand that and give us your take on where this started and maybe how you got involved, and then we'll go from there, and we'll just kind of pepper you with some more questions.
Great. It's really an honor to be here to finish out my week. It's been a massively busy week, of course, as you can imagine, and I'm happy to be on the call. Just to give everyone a little bit of background, the last 9 years I've spent with Asea has been I started out as the Senior Vice President of Global Operations, and as we grew, I became the Chief Operating Officer. And then recently, we did a little bit of reshuffling, I guess, as far as responsibilities, which left me the honor, and really, I approach this with great gratitude, to be the President of the company and continue as the Chief Operating Officer. Let me give everyone a little bit of background on how I got to Asea, and maybe like each one of you, came in a little bit hesitant and with a lot of questions. I was introduced to Asea about 10 and a half years ago, and a friend of mine was over their production operations at the time, and he asked me, because of my background in production and operations, to come take a look. And I came to the company. Company was about just a little over 2.5 years old. I took a look. I thought the technology was very strange, nothing like I'd seen before, coming from a background of the production and distribution of nutritional supplements. And I remember, and this is no embellishment at all. And those of you that know me, I will tell a good story once in a while, and this is not one of them. This is the complete truth. Is I went home. My wife had known I would, had visited this company, and she said, "Well, how was it?" And I shook my head, and I said, "That company is going out of business. They're not going to make it. They just won't make it with, salt water, electricity, the way they're approaching this." And little did I know, a little less than a year later, Jerem Webb would invite me to come interview to the company as we built what is currently today the Redox Center. And so that was my first assignment, was come in, and let's say I was a little skeptical. And we decided to date for a year. And then we got married, meaning that I was fully engaged with the company, having really learned the ins and outs of the technology that this company was founded on. What initially attracted me to the company was the level of ethics of the leadership of the company. I do remember very distinctly the first time I met Bertus Norton, and some of the initial executives that were with the team, and just an overwhelming sense that this was a great group of individuals that I could match with on an ethical side of business. And then after that, of course, got introduced to the technology, and the rest is history. So it's just kind of been a step by step. The company was very small when I first looked at it. And I thought, well, we'll give it a chance. And there were some tough days. We really labored. And I just happened to be at a time in my life that I needed something new. And I really, really wanted to build a great team. And so I've been with Asea 9 years now, and been able to see massive growth. I've actually visited 28 different countries around the world in the last 9 years, and it's been an amazing opportunity. So that's how I got here. I used to have hair when I first started with the company, and as it diminished over time, I just started shaving it. So I'm sorry my head is shining right now, but that's the best I can do at this point in my life. So
well, your head is always shine.
And what a great opportunity to be with Asea, to have wonderful associates all over the world, and to really build not just a global business, but global relationships. And so I'm just super happy for the next phase of our growth, and to really be part of that, and to be part of a wonderful team.
Okay, Scott, I always ask this question, and I think coming from you is going to be a unique explanation. But how, for all the new people that are watching or listening, how do you explain what redox molecules are? What do they do?
Yeah,
what fascinated you back in the beginning?
So let me give you a little background. When you're producing a dietary or nutritional supplement, you always put excess ingredient, meaning that if you're going to have 100 milligrams of citric acid, you need to put in about 125 to meet label claims, because over the time of manufacturing, there's a diminished effect, and then you have a shelf life and degradation. When I took a look at this technology, it didn't add up, because you had 1 + 1 did not equal 1.5 like it does in a supplement. 1 + 1 equaled 10. And so I give that as an example that it's very unique, and really in its very basic definition, redox signaling is the transfer of electrons. And we don't need to go much beyond that, but it's something that was very different for me. I looked at it, and I thought, wow, this is an amazing process. And I can honestly tell you right now that over the last 9 years of really studying the technology, we really are only at the beginning. Because what we understand now, and what was actually introduced to Bertus Norton about 12.5, 13 years ago, is actually comparing the initial iPhone to the iPhone that we use now. And it's so exciting to be part of that discovery. And I tell people, we've discovered more at the molecular level in the last 2 years than we did in the first 10 years. And a lot of that has to do with the way we test the product, and looking at molecules, not at the parts per million, but looking at parts per billion. And so we're able to see very deeply into the product and understand that redox signaling is not new. It's something that's been around for a long time. It just so happened that Asea was one of the very first companies to talk about it, and to actually have a supplement that would trigger a response in the body by the transfer of electrons. And so that's really the simplest way I can answer that without going into great depth. But just the fact that we own this technology, and not only do we own it, we have continued to develop it. We no longer file patents. And the reason we don't do that is because as we develop new technologies, those are listed under intellectual property or a trade secret, because we don't even want to put it on a patent. And usually the patents they're a little bit deceptive in the fact that they're very wide, and you say it can be between this parameter and this parameter. We're not even going to do that. We're so far ahead of anything that anyone would be thinking about, but we want to keep that all internal. We have a 3D printer that some of the parts that we use and that we've developed are of such a proprietary nature, we don't even have anybody make them for us. We will go ahead and print that on a 3D printer and use it ourselves, because we don't even want to give away that piece of the technology. Some of our fixtures, some of the things we use in the technology. So that's a fairly new development as we've really kind of cracked the code on which way we can create molecules. And so I would say it's maybe more complex than you could imagine, but the principle of redox signaling is actually fairly straightforward. Simply the transfer of electrons.
Now,
Thank you
again,
very
I'm a simpleton. These other guys are doctors and a nutritionalist. But when people get very confused, Scott, when they look at the label, a dietary supplement, and it's made from salt water, and people, they're scratching their head, and they can't. Some people just have a very difficult time getting over that. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, there's a couple things to remember when the classification, when you consider the classification of Asea Redox. A lot of the classification is dictated by the country, meaning when we will register the product in a country, there will be certain label requirements based on that country's equivalent of the Food and Drug Administration. And in some countries, we can't even say redox. We simply have to put on the label salt and water as required by the local authorities. Many times we'll go into a market and that particular government agency will look at the product and not even know what classification they should put the product in. And so a lot of times what's on the label doesn't really give you an indication of what the product is. There's no way that we could put this product on a shelf. And that's why it's so vitally important that people share their very personal experiences and that people use the product. Now, I will offer a little bit of voice of warning. Be very careful what you share on social media. And the reason I tell you that is the FDA will monitor what people say. Now, if you can say, I had this wonderful experience and you should try this too, that's the best way to share this product. Probably one of the things that will get us into the most hot water is when a very medical type claim or disease type claim is made by an associate on social media. We recently, so that all of you know, we finished our first ever FDA level audit. So the FDA came to the Redox Center in a vehicle that has US government plates, and they said, we're here to do the inspection for the FDA. What actually triggered that inspection was our Omega product, because it has fish oil in it. And so they were there to audit us because we export this product. When they found out that wasn't actually manufactured at the Redox Center, they said, well, we're here and we're going to do a 4-day FDA level audit. And so for 4 days, an FDA auditor sat in our facility going through every record, every product claim, everything on our website, social media, all these different things to make sure we were in compliance with the FDA. There was over 2,000 points of inspection, and there was one negative finding, which actually had to do with how we were integrated with our associate support and how things were reported. So what we had to do is we had to write what's called a corrective action report and say, okay, we need to train associate support to a little bit higher level to handle product calls. And they are completely interfaced now with our quality team so that they can answer those questions. We responded back to the FDA within 2 weeks. And then just last week, I received the notification that the FDA is satisfied and that our inspection is now considered closed. From my perspective, that is the highest level of praise that we can give. And the amazing thing, and I'll tell you this as an aside, the FDA auditor was more impressed with our technology than anything else. And she kept commenting like, wow, I just can't believe you're doing this. I'm not supposed to say this, but what an amazing job that you're doing with meeting all the requirements and having such an amazing product. And so it was a really unique experience. And it's something that really, to go back to your original question, if we were to state on the label all the amazing things, we would get in trouble. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And but what we do is we just say this is a cell supplement, and the supplementation is the electron transfer. Some countries will say it's the salt. Some will say it's the hydration that's provided. It classify it maybe even as an electrolyte drink. But really what we're doing is we're just saying a very simple ingredient set can be very powerful if you have the right technology. And so it's really, really such an amazing background and technology.
Yeah.
This would be a good time to make a disclaimer to everybody viewing so that everybody kind of knows that as a product from the Asea company, we are not, and representing that, we're not making any claims. We're not talking about diagnosis or medical diseases. We're simply talking about individual people's experiences with this, and that it's a supplement that supports cellular health. So we just want to be on the record about that. Thank you, Scott. And
yes, that's a great point, Dr. Lee. And please, everyone, help us with that.
Yeah.
There's nothing more that can harm the company by taking a personal story and making a medical claim. And that will really hurt our business. So please be careful with that. I know it's difficult, and believe me, if I could tell you all the stories I hear, I would be escorted out of my office, probably number one, and number two, I would be in a lot of trouble. So please be careful.
Okay, and then Philippe, before you guys, I got to ask you this: can you share your compliant story? What it's done for you?
Yeah, I appreciate that. A lot of people ask me about product use, my personal product use. Every morning I take 4 ounces. Every evening I take 4 ounces. And if you knew the level, and I'll just describe my daily schedule. I get up at 4:45 every morning. And within about 10 minutes, I'm dressed and ready to go do morning exercise. That we have a gym at the Redox Center. And so I head to the Redox Center. I don't live very far away. So usually just after 5 a.m., I'm at the Redox Center. And I will answer emails that came in from the evening and over the night, which usually means they're coming from Asia and from our Europe operations. And then by about 6 a.m., I will do very strenuous exercise from 6 to 7. And next month, I'll be 55 years old, and I can still bench press 350 pounds. So I would say, and I have a combination of weight training and cardiovascular. I can't really run that great anymore. So I'll do some light jogging on a treadmill. I'll use an elliptical, and I'll use a stationary bike, but I will have a very intense workout for an hour. I'll come back, answer a couple more emails, take a shower, and be starting my morning schedule by about 8 a.m. And I will usually work till about 6:30 or 7 p.m. Spend a little time with my family, and I'll do it again the next day. I will guarantee you that somebody that is not taking care of their body, they could not maintain that schedule.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
my personal is, I have the energy that I need. I've had one sick day from Asea in 9 years. And that was actually because I was traveling back from South Korea, and I sat by somebody that they weren't very courteous, and they coughed a lot on me.
No.
By the next morning, I was not feeling very well, and so I did miss that morning or that day.
Yeah.
But one day in 9 years, and I could say most of us can't make that claim, and that's with having
That's awesome.
busy schedule. So I would say for me, it's general health, it's energy, it's quality of sleep. Those type of things are really what I've noticed. Strange things, like my fingernails grow very quickly. And unfortunately, my hair on my head doesn't grow a lot, but I find my beard growth is very quick, and just but some kind of strange things like that. But energy, sleep quality, really the main things that I've noticed. And that's really where I can say this has been a very beneficial product for me personally.
Philippe?
Awesome.
Thank you very much for this. And you wonderfully describe, on one hand, the variations in regulations worldwide. I have been trained in policy regulations, etc., in other domains of expertise, and I totally identify the challenges you have met in some countries.
Yes.
Semantics plays out very much. So in short, how would you say, beside that, how would you say to someone who is definitely refractory to common sense, as I would say, and still deny it is too great, too beautiful to be true, it just cannot exist? What would be your answer to that person?
Yeah, that's exactly right. First and foremost, people need to approach the product with an open mind. I know that many of you are trying to share the product. If somebody's going to be very negative from the beginning, I think it's time to move on. And so you want somebody who has an open mind that will say, yes, I will take this product. I will write down how I feel today before I start, and I'll write and describe how I'm feeling over time, and really give it an honest effort. I could tell you that, I have a daughter that runs track in college, and she never misses a day of taking her Asea because she knows it makes a difference. And that's really what you have to do, is just approach it and say, this has been my personal experience. Would you be interested in trying this product? Also emphasize that we do have a full money back guarantee. So if somebody takes the product, we call that our empty bottle promise, right? They can take the product, and if they feel like it's not for them, that's fine. We say, thank you very much. You're still my valued friend. Would you know anybody else that would like to try a product like this? And then you just move to the next one. We spend so much time trying to convince people that it doesn't matter what happens. They'll never be convinced. And so really, it's just approaching those people that would give it an honest opinion. And that's really what you want to do. And that's really what I've seen be very successful.
Thank you very much. I am myself a 7-month-old newcomer in the Asea family. And I have a very positive and dramatic personal story about Asea, which is not the point here. But I have heard also, I have made my diligence. I was not well in a place where I was very brain fog, among other things. And it took weeks for me to make my diligence because I was so bad that anything was terrifying to me after many difficult experiences with other products. So, but I went to the team, the science team, technology on the website, etc. So once I enrolled, I did that, and my God, you are perceived somehow and renowned for being a miracle maker. Could you tell us the story of the 5-gallon bucket, please? Your little story with Verbis.
Yeah, so a couple things which is really interesting. People don't understand that when we first gained this technology, it was produced 1 liter at a time. And so as we've moved forward, we've had two questions in mind. Is it scalable and is it sustainable? And so now a batch of Asea is actually 4,000 gallons or about 3,600 cases. That's what a batch is, or a lot. So from very humble beginnings, we push this forward. The 5-gallon bucket story is actually about Renew 28. And when we developed that product, we went to Vertus Norton's home and we did a demonstration on how we could take the concentrated version of the Asea Redox supplement, add an emulsifier, which means as a thickening agent to turn it into a gel, and do a pH balancing process. And we did it right in his home in a 5-gallon bucket. And we just used a paint mixer to do that. That was coated with non-reactive materials. And we mixed it right there in his home to demonstrate that, yes, Vertus, we can do that. And this was in January. And we actually released that product at convention in May. And so I remember leaving his home and he said, okay, go, you get it done. And I remember driving away thinking, how am I going to get this done by May? And so we started looking at equipment on how we could do this. And we had, I believe it was about 1,200 tubes that we had filled manually for convention. They sold out in 20 minutes and we were still processing all the equipment. And after that, the first month, we produced 120,000 tubes to meet demand. So that's the 5-gallon bucket story.
Now I understand Maureen Hayes bought about half of that. Is that correct?
I don't know. I remember there was a run on the bank, and
Heard about
we actually did an online order at the convention, and we sold out in 20 minutes. And it was amazing. God. And we did run around the clock. Once the equipment was there and we could fill the tubes, we ran around the clock for 5 weeks, and people slept at the Redox Center, and we rotated shifts. And we ran around the clock too, because we had a pre-order situation where we allowed people to pre-order the product, and we were filling demand as quickly as we could. So that's really an amazing story, considering now we produce very easily about 1.3 million tubes per year. But that was the original crazy story.
Yeah,
I would say our Italian friends, bravissimo.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, quite.
Hey, were you going to ask a question?
Yeah, I was gonna say, on that production thing, there's a video out that I believe it's you and others are talking about production. I've done the tour myself, and it's very fascinating. Many people here who haven't, could you give us, at least in a verbal rundown, a description from your point of view about the production facility, why it's unique, and what makes it the gem that it is?
What's really unique about the production facilities, it serves two purposes. Yes, oops, my light shut off. Hold on. The production facility also doubles as a research and development facility. And when we built that was the intent, was not only to produce the product and distribute the product, it was also to learn more about the technology. That is what's very, very unique about the company that we all are associated with, is we control every aspect of the production, the quality assurance, the testing. We have our own testing lab that's seriously right out my door here, that's at the corporate office. And we're able to push the envelope on the technology. So that's the biggest thing, is people forget that the product development that we do takes place in that building. It allows us to look at different levels of redox signaling. I love giving the tours, and one of the reasons is right now we are working on some really exciting breakthroughs with the technology, and nobody but myself knows what's going on when I give those tours. So I'm able to really go through and highlight what we're doing, and right in front of everybody's eyes, there's all these different technologies that we're working on and trying and they don't know any different. So it's really an amazing situation, but that's what makes it unique, is that it doubles not only as a production facility, but also full research and development. What's really key to that is not just the science and the testing, but it's the engineering. So we have a chemical engineer on staff that actually came from the petroleum industry. And then we have 3 PhDs at the corporate office. Dr. Kurt Stickley, who's over our quality assurance, his PhD is in organic chemistry. Dr. Nico, who just recently joined us from Germany and is our chief science officer. I believe his PhD is in food chemistry. And then we have Andrea, who's our researcher and validator. And that's what her background is. And I believe her PhD is in biology and some subsection. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with what for sure it is, but it gives us the opportunity to really not only produce at a high level, but also do all the background testing, validation, and also continue to develop other technologies within the redox space. So that's really the biggest difference.
This is really
That's
impressive.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to keep all the secrets of the new things that are coming in April.
I promise I won't say a word, Scott.
No, you already
Just
know
a
the
little
things
bit.
that are coming in April. So I'll already
Very,
tell you that
yeah.
everything that's coming in April has already been announced. And
Yeah.
that's what's really amazing.
Yeah, we know a little bit, but it's going to be exciting to see it roll out.
Yeah.
So, we're a complete cellular health, which I love that, the liquid is our staple, and then the Renew 28, we came in within 6 months after that was launched. So that was very exciting the last 6.5 years. And it was neat when y'all added the nutritionals and you kind of phased into the first 3 and then eventually the omega. I love that Dr. Stuckey, is that how you say it? Yeah, looks over in the making of the omega, which is exceptional. Being someone with the nutrition background and a degree in nutrition, I was very excited to see how those marry so well with redox signaling. So I'd love to know kind of y'all's your thinking in your brain on how y'all went from, you've got Renew, you got the liquid, now we had to decide on the whole making of, it took y'all some time, right, to come up with all the excellent sourcing and making of the VIA line. So maybe you can share a little bit about that and just.
So one of the
to know more.
things, because the messaging sometimes is difficult with redox signaling, you need to also have a supplement line that will provide nutrition for the cell. So when you trigger the cellular signaling, that there's something there, right? So that you can improve that. The new products that have been announced are single serve products. And let me tell you why we did that is we need, all of us, and I'm talking to everybody on this call, we need more customers. And so what we needed was products that they could try once and say yes or no, products that can be sampled. This is part of a customer acquisition strategy. We need something that's very easy to share to drive us back to the redox technologies. So if somebody says, hey, I have a problem with my energy or with my mood or these things, I need a little boost. We have products now that you'll be able to share with them to get them interested in the concept of redox signaling. So that's the whole background of that. It's the same thing with the updates and renewed emphasis on the Renew Advanced line. That is so that people that are really interested in redox signaling and skincare will have something to share that's very easy. You don't have to be a PhD chemist to share it. It's something you say, try this, and you're gonna look better, you're gonna feel better. And let me tell you how redox signaling works. So that's really as we expand our product line and we look for other ways to share this vision, is we need products that people can sample. It's really hard to make a sample of the Asea Redox and say, hey, take this once. How do you feel? So we need a little bit longer runway on that one. And what this also allows us to do is keep building the business, keep building the company, and also have a little bit more time so we can develop these, what we call breakthrough technologies. A breakthrough technology is going to be every 3 to 5 years, but it gives us an opportunity to develop more baseline products that can be easily shared. And that will be the vision. Gina Anson, who's our Chief Marketing Officer, and myself, we're working very diligently on what we call a product roadmap. And these are the products that you're asking for, that you use, that will be coupled with redox signaling products. They're all built in synergistic relationship with the core technology. We're using specific ingredients that are classified as redox ingredients. So that's how we're expanding. Look for some exciting breakthroughs as we keep going through. Some of them I won't be able to tell you yet. It's great to know that secret and not be able to tell you. So that I'll just tell you that much. But we're working diligently to continue in this space and to add to it. So that's kind of the product strategy.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
One thing I want to ask real quick is a lot of people are concerned about being able to receive product with the supply chain. Could you talk about that real quick? And I know how unbelievable you have done with that, but a lot of people don't understand. I'm an ex-stockbroker. I did a lot of investments. And my first thing I wanted to know, well, I don't want to get into a company that's going to have a technology that I can't receive. Yeah. And that's going to be here for the long haul. Can you deal with that? Address that real quick?
I don't know if I can do it real quick, but let me try to be very clear in the explanation.
Yes, sir.
All of us right now are affected by global supply chain delays. And what was really interesting was we kind of saw it coming. So last year with the COVID situation, we didn't know what was going to happen. We just knew immediately we needed to ramp up and get product. There was a legitimate chance that everyone was going to have to go home. And that included our production operations would need to cease for a time. We didn't know. Nobody knew. This is the first pandemic that we've all lived through. So we immediately shifted to 5 12-hour shifts from 4 10-hour shifts to meet demand. And what we did is we rotated. People came in at different times. It was really a great opportunity to see a team really care about each other. And so we increased our global inventory levels. And then when we saw we were going to be able to keep producing through the pandemic, we kind of backed off. But something very interesting has happened over time. The first and foremost is we made an effort to have all domestic suppliers from the time we established this redox center so that we would always have a supply of material. So even our bottles come from only about 40 miles away from the production facility. And so we made a conscious effort on all items we needed for production would be domestically sourced, meaning that we didn't have to rely on overseas. It would have been a little bit less expensive, but right down to the spare parts that we use and every piece of equipment that's at the redox center has parts that are made domestically. With that, and I'll tell you this quick story is every Tuesday we sit down as an operations team and we look at global demand and we track it by item number. We call that a SKU, a stocking known unit. And so what we'll do, and we have 23 points of distribution, we look at it right down to the warehouse level all over the world. Last May, when we were in this meeting, we started seeing signs of a slowdown in the ability to transfer goods globally. We were getting the same reports as everybody else around the world, and we started noticing that it was taking longer and longer for things to travel around the world. So we bumped up production and we put more and more product in the supply chain. And we went from about a 90-day product rotation to 150 days now. So what we did is we just bumped inventory levels as things slowed down. To give you an idea of how things have slowed down, normally to get something from the US, from our facility to Malaysia, takes about 5 to 6 weeks. That's a normal transit time. And what we're doing is we're loading containers with product that will go on rail to a port and then load on a sea vessel. And then they're transported by ship to these different ports and these different locations. We recently had a shipment that left our facility at the 1st of July and only arrived in Malaysia last week. So what was normally a 5 or 6 week lead time has now become 5 to 6 months due to port congestion, due to the lack of transportation as far as the rail, the trucks. And this is happening all over the world. And so maybe we got a little lucky. Maybe it was experience. I don't know. But we saw it coming with enough time. And because we're not waiting for materials to come in, they're all domestically sourced, we're able to produce and stay ahead of that curve. I'm happy to report that the inventory levels globally are in great shape, and we will continue to monitor that. But just maybe one more point. I think everyone notices we're paying more for fuel, right? You go to get gasoline for your car, and you say, "Oh my goodness!" I drive a pickup, and it cost me over $100 to fill up, right? Because it's 26-gallon tank, and so I'm like, "Wow, this is expensive." Now I want to give you some perspective. What's happening right now is fuel prices go up, everything goes up. Everything has to be transported. With our UPS contract, right now we are paying a 16% fuel surcharge. So we have our base rates, and they're charging us an additional 16% for fuel. That happens on every delivery of every material that we receive. And so we right now we're up about 28% in our shipping costs globally. We were looking at some material costs of different things that we use in production. Some of them have more than doubled in the last year as we go through this. So we feel and we live every day what each one of us goes through for more expensive goods. We're in the most inflation that North America has seen in 30 years. And what it really is, it's your basic economic lesson of supply and demand. The demand has increased dramatically for all goods. And it's really kind of one of these situations is we can't control everything. So people say, well, what I can't control is I can buy more stuff. And so people are buying more consumer goods, and it's just overwhelming the system. And that's kind of my life. That's what I deal with every single day. And so when I ever have the chance to deal with the science and the technology, I'll take that any day over dealing with the real life situation of massive global supply chain disruptions. But fortunately for us, I'll say it's a blessing. I'll say we were lucky. I'll say whatever it takes, but we've been able to keep up. We work, the logistics team and our associate support team will work at some level around the world for 20 hours of each day. So somebody's working, whether it's in Taiwan, whether it's in our office in Germany, or whether it's our team here at corporate, for 20 hours of each 24 hours, somebody is watching that. And that's really what gives us the advantage. So it's really, it's maybe why I don't have any hair. I don't know, but it's really what consumes us. It takes a tremendous amount of our time and planning. And luckily, we're not using computer chips or anything like that that are slowing down a lot of people. But we're really doing a great job. And I will pay tribute to just a massively dedicated and professional logistics team that is really doing a wonderful job for all of us.
Scott, you need to know that we're getting inundated on the chat that you are a logistics genius. So bravo to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's not me. I have a great team.
Well, it takes a chief to do it.
Along these lines, Scott, thank you so much for the descriptive, because I bet among us field associates, nobody knew that. Nobody. Or only.
I hope what's going to happen is one of the things we're trying to really increase as a company is our transparency. We want you to know really how dedicated we are to this cause and to helping each one of you. We will share these things freely as far as what goes on at the corporate office as much as we can, to talk about things like logistics. I don't know if everybody's that interested or not. I certainly am. Production capacities, quality testing, how our associate support works, our IT infrastructure, all these different things that really help us run the company to its highest levels. And so that's why I believe that we are a wonderful team. We have a great set of field associates, ambassadors, representatives that are out championing the cause of redox signaling. And on the counterpart of that, you have a tremendously dedicated, professional, and experienced corporate team that's doing everything that we can to support that effort. So I really appreciate the teaming. In a different life, I would have probably been a coach of some kind. But for now, this is my coaching.
So from your vantage point, sorry, go ahead, Lee.
We appreciate that you are not, that you're running counterintuitive to the just-in-time practices that are so prevalent.
Yeah, that's what got everyone in trouble, is the just-in-time delivery.
Yeah,
we
please
all
don't
had to
go there.
adjust from that.
Please don't go there, because then we suffer.
Yeah, it's been amazing, and we really plan diligently on how we're providing this to everyone. And it really is, and this is not an exaggeration, it is a team effort. You will hear me say that over and over again, is teaming is the most powerful leadership principle that we can teach on any level. It's the spirit of unity, it's the spirit of caring, and it's what this company stands for. I don't know that we've been vocal enough about that. And so you'll probably find a little bit different perspective from me, being behind the curtain most of the time, and really now being able to share some of the wonderful, dedicated people that are helping run this company. It is truly amazing every day.
Awesome.
So from your vantage point, what would be your key request to us, field associates, to help you at our best? What should we do more? What should we be stopping to do? And what should we learn to do something different, maybe?
You know what? I sincerely appreciate that question, because I actually have an answer for it. We have an exercise that we use here at the corporate office called Stop, Start, Keep. And what we do is we'll go through and we say, what are some things we need to stop doing? What are some good things that we're doing right now that we should probably do better? So that would qualify as a start. And what are some excellent things that we're already doing? And we call that keep. It's a really simple exercise that we go through, and we just do it from time to time to make sure that we're paying attention. I would say the one thing that we should all remember is contention is never good at any level. It doesn't matter what it's for. We can have opinions, we can have thoughts, but when they grow into contention, then it doesn't benefit anyone. It doesn't benefit what we're trying to do. It doesn't benefit what we stand for as a company. So if I was to say, if there's a stop that I could get people to really remember, is when you want to say something that's going to harm another person, or that you're going to speak with any kind of ill will, then we really need to stop that. And it's not productive at any level. And even if somebody says, I think redox signaling is, you're just making this up. You're cordial, you say thank you, and you move to the next level. Say, I appreciate your opinion, but anything that causes contention is not good at any level. And so one thing that we all need to do is we just need to understand perspective. I heard a quote a couple of weeks ago that was very, very powerful. And I'll try to say this very slowly so that everyone can hear it. Be careful of having a macro opinion with a micro view. Okay, so there's two words I love, and one of them is beware, and the other word is behold. Okay, beware means be careful step back a little bit, and behold means something good's going to happen. So pay attention. And I love those two words because they mean they have an inverse meaning. So beware of having a strong opinion when you don't have all the facts. And behold, if you treat people well, it will always, always come back to you. I guarantee it. I've seen it over and over again in my life that when people have a spirit and they have the ability to treat others the way they want to be treated, then everything opens up. And really, as all of us move forward with pursuing what we're trying to accomplish, we want to make sure that we're doing that. So that's really the advice I'd have. That's an excellent question. It's to just really make sure that we're treating each other the best we can. And I guarantee you it will work out. Good people do finish first. They get ahead because they treat each other well. And that's really what I've considered maybe a secret, not even a secret, but a key to success. So I appreciate that question. I was actually thinking about that today. So thank you for that question.
You're welcome. Another question that ties with it on a very daily challenge experienced by all of us is regarding fraud, fraudulent activities, plagiarism, and the risk involved at all levels. What could you summarize the situation from your vantage point with respect to all the compliances we know? And the number two aspect would be, what would you advise us? What would be our best weaponry to face these challenges when they rise?
Yeah, the difficulty is that we have a lot of challenges, right, with compliance, with things that we want to say. My biggest advice is to make sure your stories are personal, your experiences are personal, and that you share those on a personal level. Remember that we're in the business of making people better. That's our business. We talk about this philosophy of being part of something bigger than ourselves. And that's really what we're trying to accomplish. We're trying to accomplish something bigger than ourselves. So be careful what you say, and behold, something good is going to happen. And so really for me, it's think about it a little bit. Take a pause. I know it's exciting to say I had this challenge and wow, I'm better now. That's great. That's how this business was built. And as we go forward, remember that we are a team. And so you may want to say something or post something in a non-compliant manner. If you ever have a question, talk to our compliance people. Talk to some of our very experienced leaders, and they'll tell you a way to say it in a compliant manner that you can share your story. Keep it simple. That's really what we're about. And we'll all be able to reach our highest level of success.
Hey, Scott, real quick, thank you. This has been amazing. Why hasn't anybody else come out with a Redox technology? We've been on the open market 12 years. I think it's fascinating that no one's reverse engineered this. Why?
I think we're far enough ahead on the technology. It's not as easy as you may think.
Wait, you don't mix just salt and water and stick your finger in it and turn it?
No, there's other products that have kind of a similar base, right? So we've tested them, but then we tested a deeper level. They're not the same at all. This past week, we were working on something directly related to the technology. And it's not saying too much that we have an anode and a cathode. And what that is that's where the electric current flows through to cause the redox reaction, or what we call redox potential in the product. Everything about those two items is different. The size, the shape, the surface area, the material it's made from, the material it's coated with. It would really take a lot for somebody to figure that out, and then to know how to pH adjust our product the way we do, to know the dilution rates that we use. And one of the key things that nobody thinks about is how quickly we dilute the product, because once we start a reaction, we need to stop the reaction. And it's so much is kind of thought about that is we actually have pumps that work at a very high rate of speed to help us stabilize the reaction. The temperature that we use while we're doing the processing, all these things are piano keys, and very few people would be able to actually reverse engineer it. For one thing, you would have to have very advanced testing equipment to look at the levels that we look and to adjust the product the way that we adjust. And we do that. We test other products as they're coming out. I just think it's the difficulty to get the exact balance, because the amount of redox signaling or the pathways that are triggered are actually tied to the parts per million of redox signaling that we have in the product. So different pathways are signaled by different levels, and that's one thing we're working on. So I don't think anybody could exactly dial that in. We're super lucky to have the base technology. I even joke, I'm not sure Virtus would even recognize it if he came in and saw how advanced things are. But we are so blessed and so grateful that he had the vision to see that there was potential. And so this marketing promise or brand promise that we use, we power potential, it is at so many levels of the company. And that's truly what we're doing. So nobody can figure it out yet. We'll stay ahead. That's one of the reasons we don't file any new patents, is we continue to evolve this technology to stabilize the product at a different level so we get a longer shelf life and stability. And we do that all internally. So someday, maybe somebody will figure it out, but it's okay. We're far, far ahead right now.
Yeah, I've got so many questions we want to ask you. We've only got 3 minutes left. Real quick, from Asea to the Renew to the Serum, what's the different levels of molecules in each? I want to finally hear it from you.
I love this question. So the Renew, if we were only to measure the parts per million of the redox potential, or the redox signaling of the product, the Renew product has twice or 2 times the concentration level of the Asea Redox that we drink. Okay, it's not a fair comparison. One's topical. Please don't eat Renew 28. It's not meant to be orally ingested, but it's 2 times. The serum is 4 times Asea Redox, or 2 times the level of the Renew 28.
Which is what we've said.
So that's the straight gospel truth from what we test.
That's
for.
awesome.
And I know there's always some confusion out there, but that's the exact answer.
Yeah, that's good and clear. And the pH is 7.6
on the Asea Redox.
on the liquid. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the pH is actually a little bit variable. When we're processing the product, we have a range. It may be as high as 7.8 to 7.6, but by the time we get it into the bottle and you receive it, it's going to be very close to pH neutral, somewhere between a 7.3 and a 7.4.
Right.
And so that's what we're trying to achieve. And so if we were to measure other products like this, they would not have that pH level. And so we would get to make that very close to the pH neutral level for the best.
You got 1 minute.
Awesome.
You got 1 minute. Give us your close. What do you want to say to the field? What do you want to say to the new people that are listening that have, this is the first time? And by the way, I love your smile. I'm serious. That's very warming to me, and I really appreciate that. But what would you say to the field and to the new people?
I guess my overall message is that all of us, we power potential. And Jim, it doesn't matter if it's you or Dr. Lee or Philippe, we all power the potential in other people. There is no worse comment we can hear than we are not living our potential. Each one of us has the ability to make someone else better. And that starts with ourselves. This entire company is built on potential. And each one of you have that ability, not only in yourselves to power your potential within yourself, but others. And that's why I love being involved with Asea. And that would be my final message. Thank you so much for that question.
Thank you.
Scott.
If you don't mind, we're gonna maybe have to make this, I'm serious, like a quarterly or every 4 or 5 months. Because this was awesome. You gave us so much valuable information. I'm so honored to be here, and thank you for what you've done and for sticking with us. And it's an honor now. No, I know you a lot better now. And the fact that you're our president is very warming and very comforting to me as a businessman.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So
I
guys,
guess it's
thank you
time
so
to go.
much.
My light shut off again, so it's time
Yeah,
to go.
you got to go. So guys, next week we will be back. We will have Donalyn Dominguez. She is our amazing midwife from Argyle, Texas. So please come back next week. And we love you guys. Thank you so much. And stick around for the Aussies. They'll be right up. So Scott, thank you so much.
Thank you, Scott.
Take care.
Lee,
Thanks,
Goodbye,
thank you
everybody.
guys. We'll see you all next week. God bless.
Bye-bye.